The Luther memorials in Eisleben and Wittenberg stand as some of the most significant heritage sites in Germany and Europe, preserving the memory of Martin Luther and his role in sparking the Protestant Reformation. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1996, these memorials encompass a collection of historic buildings directly tied to the life, work, and legacy of Luther and his close collaborator, Philip Melanchthon. They not only commemorate one of the most influential figures in religious history, but also embody the cultural and intellectual shifts that reshaped Europe in the 16th century. In Eisleben, Luther's birthplace and the town where he died, the memorials focus on the key stages of his life. The birth house of Martin Luther, located in Eisleben, is preserved as a museum that illustrates his early years and the world he was born into in 1483. It offers visitors insight into late medieval society and the religious environment that shaped him. Not far away stands the death house, where Luther passed away in 1546. This building provides exhibits on his final days, his last writings, and the impact of his death on the course of the Reformation. Together, these two sites mark the beginning and end of his earthly journey, bookends to a life that transformed Christianity. Wittenberg, often referred to as the cradle of the Reformation, contains the most iconic Luther memorials. The Luther House, originally an Augustinian monastery where Luther lived as a monk, later became his family home after he left monastic life. Today, it is one of the world's largest Reformation museums, displaying manuscripts, original furniture, and artifacts that illustrate both Luther's personal life and his theological breakthroughs. It was within these walls that Luther worked on his German translation of the Bible, bringing scripture to the common people in their native language and forever changing the relationship between believers and the text of faith. The Melanchthon House, also in Wittenberg, commemorates Philip Melanchthon, Luther's close ally and an intellectual leader of the Reformation. Melanchthon's contributions to education, theology, and the spread of Protestant thought are highlighted through exhibits that reveal his scholarly influence. Together with Luther's residence, it reflects the collaborative nature of the movement and the power of ideas to transform societies. Beyond these residences, two churches in Wittenberg serve as central pillars of the Luther memorials. The Castle Church, Schlosskirche, is famously known as the place where Luther is said to have posted his 95 Theses in 1517, challenging the practice of indulgences and setting in motion a movement that would fracture the unity of the Western Church. Today, the church also houses Luther's tomb, making it both a site of historical action and spiritual reflection. The town church of St. Mary's, Stadtkirche, was Luther's parish church, where he preached some of his most influential sermons and introduced reforms in worship, including the use of the vernacular in services and congregational singing. These changes redefined Christian worship and influenced countless Protestant traditions. The Luther memorials are more than static historic sites. They are living testaments to a pivotal era in world history. They reflect how Luther's ideas challenged authority, emphasized the primacy of Scripture, and encouraged individual conscience. They also represent the intellectual currents of the Renaissance and the cultural shifts that laid the groundwork for modern Europe. Visitors to Eisleben and Wittenberg encounter not just the memory of a man, but the enduring story of a movement that reshaped faith, politics, and society. As UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the Luther memorials in Eisleben and Wittenberg preserve the tangible legacy of the Reformation for future generations. They serve as reminders of the power of ideas to change the world and the importance of safeguarding historical places that bear witness to humanity's spiritual and cultural evolution.